Over the past few weeks, I've spoken with Ray Carruth several times by phone. We had planned to meet face to face to bring you his first interview. He agreed, but the head of North Carolina's prison system denied our request to see him. But on the phone, Carruth spoke about disappointment, responsibility, and the next chapter of his life that he said he hopes will include his son. Ray Carruth is getting his freedom.
I'd love to have the opportunity to make things right with her and Chancellor.
But he's hopeful for something more.
I've apologized to Miss Adams for the loss of her daughter and taking responsibility for what happened. I don't want to harm Miss Adams. I guess, honestly, I just want to truly be forgiven.
Carruth and Sandra Adams have both told me they wanted Chancellor Lee to meet his father. Over the past few months, they wrote to each other trying to work something out. The meeting never happened.
It's unfortunate, too, because I was really looking forward to the opportunity to see my son, to touch him, to hug him, to kiss him. You know, all these things that I've never had an opportunity to do. And I wanted to apologize to him in person for all that he's been through.
Can you understand how, in her heart, she may truly want to have you meet Chancellor Lee, and maybe in this moment with the emotions that are flowing back and reliving everything in her mind as you're about to walk out of those doors, how maybe just at this moment it's not something she can do?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I know it's that 100%. That's why I said that I'm not taking it personally. We just need some more time. That's all. So I'm going to be patient. I'll continue to make myself available. And when Miss Adams is ready, I'll be ready.
You said that you wanted to contribute to Chancellor Lee's life. Does that also mean financially?
Absolutely. Whatever I can do for my son, I will. I don't feel like the burden should be Miss Adams alone, or even the kind individuals who have aided her and assisted her in helping care for my son. That's still my responsibility. For as long as I'm alive, it's my responsibility to help take care of my son. He will never have his mother in his life. Right or wrong, he still has the opportunity to have me in his life.
In my 15-minute conversation with Carruth, he said he respected Miss Adams' decision, but still struggled with it.
I understand that she has every right not to allow me to ever see him. But at the same time, I don't think that that's what's best for him. You know, how can I do right by my son if I'm never given the opportunity?
An opportunity that he must recognize may take a lot of work to gain the trust of Sandra Adams, trust broken in the conspiracy to have her daughter killed.
What perplexes me is Miss Adams speaks more positively about the man that actually killed her daughter than she does about me. And Sharika was no stranger to him. He knew her better than I did. I mean, come to think of it, she's never made one negative comment about Van Brett Watkins. And he's a real killer. And from what I've heard, a man that still has killing on his mind.
Carruth refused to talk more about the past and seemed anxious about the future.
I really don't know how to feel. I know that this was a very huge undertaking, 18 years and 11 months. This was not easy. At times physically challenging, more often than not mentally and emotionally challenging. This was difficult. So I am grateful to be ending this and getting out of here. But at the same time, I have to admit, I'm ashamed and embarrassed to have ever been associated with this crime.
What he could talk about is Chancellor Lee, with whom he hopes for a second chance. Do you know how much he looks like you?
I've known that since the day he was born. It was like looking at myself. So yes, I do know. Actually, I think he looks like both of us. But yes, I do see the similarities between him and I.
More of that conversation is still ahead. I asked what these final days in prison are like as he nears release on Monday. But first,
I tell him, what a good athlete his daddy was, and how he's got those strong legs and that muscular body like his dad, and and you can do anything, right? Yeah.
I've been fortunate enough to spend time with Sandra and Chancellor Lee Adams many times over the years, and each time I must tell you it is a blessing. Despite what seemed like insurmountable odds at his birth, Chancellor Lee survived, but more than survive, he's thrived. And his part of the story is undoubtedly the most important one of all.
Nicely. Can you put that arm down for me, please, sir? It's all right.
There's not been a day of his life when Chancellor Lee Adams hasn't had to fight.
Kick it out as you step over. Yeah, and pick it up. Perfectly.
On this day, he's fighting to walk a straight line. It isn't easy, but this battle goes back to the very beginning. From his first breath, Chancellor Lee to those who know him best, has been fighting. When his mother, Sharika Adams, refused to have an abortion, Lee's father, former Carolina Panther Ray Carruth, conspired to have both of them killed. Born premature, Lee fought to stay alive, and he won that battle, but with conditions. The gunshots robbed him of oxygen in the hours before his birth. The result, cerebral palsy, and the journey has been full of challenges.
There was life and death, from the very beginning of the story.
His grandmother, Sandra Adams, is the one who has seen the worst and the best of Lee's story. She's the one who's made sure he never forgets his mother.
She's looking down on you and loving you so much.
And she's told him what she thinks he can understand about his father.
I tell Chancellor that his father did a terrible thing, and he's away now.
She's also made it a mission.
Thank you so much for allowing me to come and share my story with you.
To take Lee's story and use it for good.
Both genders can be subjected to domestic violence.
They speak to jail inmates about the realities and the pervasiveness of domestic violence.
Sharika would have never thought in a million years that Ray would have been plotting to kill her.
And she has given her all to her grandson, committed to helping him live the best life he can. Which brings us back to that physical therapy room.
Let's do it first with the handheld, okay?
Okay.
Lee is now 18 years old.
Right, Lee.
Amy Sturkey has been his physical therapist since he was 7. She knows him as well as almost anyone, but even she admits it's hard to describe just what it's like to be in his presence.
You're at a loss for words when you try to explain Lee, because there's something about him that makes your heart want to go pitter-patter when you see him. And that's not true just now that he's a handsome young man, but ever since he was in my room. He's got this smile that will light up the whole room.
And that smile is almost always there. Almost. Make no mistake, this therapy is hard. While his father could run a play with the best of them, there is no running for Lee. Perhaps there never will be. Every step is work.
Oh, it's okay. This is the tricky side. Everybody has a tricky side.
A simple walk down the hall is draining, which shows on his face. But mostly it's fierce determination. And always at the end, that smile.
He seems very strong.
He is very strong. But there is a difference between strength and coordination of that strength. So he tends to recruit way too many muscle groups and learning how to relax one side so the other side can work and them to be able to alternate smoothly. All right, Lee. All right, let's go up to my hand. Let's go 10 times. 1, 2.
His grandmother is always there with her own smile.
Let's go mild push this time. 1, 2.
And a thumbs up, cheering him on, celebrating each success.
I never fill his mind with disability. He's able differently. And I don't focus on what he can't do or what he can do.
5. All right, get out of here.
Part of his therapy on this day involves stepping over obstacles, which seems all too fitting. It's something he's been doing his whole life.
Kick it out as far as you can. Lee, that was perfect. I think Lee understands he is who he's meant to be, and I know he feels celebrated.
Thank you.
He's a charmed, blessed individual that when people ask me about him, I can't really say much, but what I can say is I hope you get to meet him one day, because I think it changes your life when you meet Lee.
Amy Sturkey believes that Lee inherited much of his physical strength from his father. She says for a young man with cerebral palsy, he is incredibly strong. She calls him a rock star, and that he is. Still ahead, Ray Carruth's time behind bars, from the trade he learned and his feelings about his upcoming release. Plus, a special message from Sandra Adams to her grandson that you won't want to miss.